I was pretty hyped going into F1, and that's all because of the director, Joseph Kosinski. His last movie, Top Gun Maverick, is probably my favorite movie of the decade so far, and that is so important to know going into this review because Top Gun Maverick is the type of movie that usually doesn't make my top 10 movies of the year list or top 10 of the decade, anything like that. And the more I sit on that movie, like I really do believe it's one of the best summer blockbusters I have ever seen. And we live in this era now where all these movies have humongous budgets, like the new Superman movie cost $250 million. And even though I did enjoy it, I don't think it looks like it's a $250 million movie. You watch it and you're like, man, this just doesn't look as good as a lot of movies that came out in like 2008. And it feels like Kosinski is slowly becoming like a Christopher Nolan type where it's like, hey, listen, we're going to make this expensive movie and it's going to be all in camera. There's going to be minimal CGI. We're going to do this shit for real. So Brad Pitt, get in the car, start driving fast. We're not faking any of this. And it just feels like if Joseph Kosinski directed the new Superman movie, he would have took the camera crew out to Krypton. So that's why I was excited going into this, because once I found out he was attached to the Formula One movie, I kind of knew what to expect. And even coming out of the movie, kind of getting exactly what I thought it would be. Like, yeah, it's not as good as Top Gun Maverick, so it's not my favorite movie of the decade, but it's probably my favorite movie of the year so far. It's tied with another movie that I saw at Sundance. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss that video talking about that movie. But in terms of the movies that have been released to the public so far, yeah, I think this is my favorite. And I want to break down why this movie works, as simple as it is, because like I said, if you know me, you know this type of film is not like my favorite. Sure, a lot of my favorite movies of all time have been summer blockbusters, as far back as something like Jaws. It's indisputable that a lot of the best movies ever made are summer blockbusters. I just feel like there are so many summer blockbusters these days that are not this good. There's just so many of them that feel like they're solely made to make money. And Formula One is as big of an ad as it gets. I've seen a lot of people say this is Formula One propaganda. And if that's the case, it really works because this movie is the best advertisement I might have ever seen. I'm usually a storytelling first kind of person when it comes to talking about movies. The things I love the most, you know, are characters, themes, arcs that characters go on, plot points of how the story actually unfolds, original ideas. All those kinds of things are the things I kind of look for and love the most about movies. But the thing I love most about filmmaking is there is no formula, for me at least, in terms of what makes a great movie. And everybody has very different tastes. Like if you're someone that's really only into horror movies, then yeah, it's hard to recommend anything that's not a horror movie. But I'm really the type of guy, I love every kind of movie. You know, as long as the movie is good, that's all I care about. I don't care what the genre is. Like sure, I have some preferences here and there, but I don't just write off a movie because it's one specific kind of movie. If you make the best version of that kind of film, I am on board. And that's been the argument I've seen against both this movie and Top Gun Maverick. Like a lot of people say that, yeah, Top Gun Maverick is great, but it's an action movie. You know, it's not on the level of prestige as some of these other films that have come out. And that logic of looking at movies has always kind of bothered me. Like if my favorite food is a cheeseburger, right? And I go to the best seafood place on the planet, even if I'm not the biggest seafood person, I'm not going to get the cheeseburger. And if I do and say it's bad, I'm not going to complain that the cheeseburger is bad. I'm going to get the seafood. That is what the restaurant is known for. And I think movies work pretty much the same way. Are you delivering on the thing you are claiming to make great? And I think in F1's case, it's probably not seafood. You know, I don't think that's a great comparison. It's probably more on the lines of like pizza, where 98% of the people on the planet enjoy it. And of the 2% that don't, 1% is probably lactose intolerant. I feel bad for those people. But the other 1% kind of makes a big deal about it. They're like, oh, I only eat pizza when I go to Venice in May. And it's like, yeah, thanks, buddy. Go enjoy your ceviche in the corner. I don't feel like talking to you. But for the 98% of the world that enjoys pizza, I feel like Formula One is a similar kind of movie. The story is one you have seen a million times. You have this old timer that could have been a world champion, got in an accident, and was afraid to get behind the wheel again. And now he's finally got a shot to become the world champion once again. We have seen this story a million times. It is very familiar. People will complain it's not Shakespeare, but Romeo and Juliet didn't have some of the best action sequences I've ever seen put to screen, okay? You go to this movie to see real Formula One racing on the big screen. And Brad Pitt and Damson Idris are actually behind the cars driving. And as you're watching it, you're like, these people behind the camera were born to make movies like this. Joseph Kosinski and cinematographer Claudio Miranda both do incredible jobs here. They should only be working on stuff that involves vehicles of some kind. But if they want to do like some sort of sci-fi thing, could you imagine the type of Star Wars like aerial combat these guys would have been able to do? It would look incredible. And I could see the case where somebody would complain that some of the shots get a little too repetitive because there's only so many ways you could film a racing scene like this. There are only so many places you could put the camera. And sure, the types of shots can get a little bit repetitive in certain points. Like a shot that looks cool in the beginning, they'll do 4 more times and you're like, oh, they're doing the same thing again. But what's genius about the way these guys work is there's always something different happening on screen or in the background. So it always feels fresh. And that is one of the most impressive things about this movie to me. Every racing scene feels distinct in its own way. Like in the first opening sequence, there are fireworks going off on screen, right? And it's cool when they start going off in the background, but then one finds its way onto the track right in front of one of the cars. And then you have a helicopter that comes sweeping by to get another shot. Like the entire composition of the idea and the execution of that just looks so good. In every single race scene, I just had a huge smile on my face because not only was it exciting, but everything just felt so calculated and planned out that to me, as a fan of just movies in general, it was very impressive to watch. And it made me happy seeing how hard these people tried to do this. And just the practicality of everything adds to the entire experience. Like you feel the pressure of these characters because it feels so real with everything going on around them. And I know the budget of this movie was $300 million. It is a ludicrous amount of money to make a movie. But here's the thing, you know, like, will this movie lose money and that's bad? Maybe. It's doing pretty well at the box office and they have the backing of Apple and Formula One, the sport. So it's not like they're taking money from a company that's struggling. But even if this movie breaks even or doesn't make too much money off of the film itself in the box office, like, I'm so sick and tired of movies like Superman, which is a solid movie, don't get me wrong, but it doesn't look like an expensive movie. It looks cheap versus something like this looks expensive. It looks like you're watching a $300 million movie. It looks like they spent their money well. And the film, I'm going to say looks, again, it looks visually incredible. And they just are so smart at the way they execute other aspects of the film around the racing. Like one thing I think the movie does really good is kind of explain Formula One racing naturally, because there are so many other movies or directors, I guess you could say, and writers that would handle this entire film differently, where they would try and do like an exposition dump, like a 5-minute sequence. Say Brad Pitt's character didn't really know much about Formula One racing. Say he came from NASCAR or something like that. They would have a 5-minute scene of Javier Bardem kind of explaining the different ways you race in Formula One, what's important about Formula One racing, and all this kind of stuff of why pit times matter. And obviously, you know, you're supposed to be fast. Anyone would know that. But there's a sequence where they take 7 seconds to change a tire and people are pissed. And I was like, holy shit, 7 seconds is that long? That's crazy. But they do such a good job at explaining the stakes of every single person in the crew of this team. And it makes every single second matter. It never at once feels like they're scolding the audience of people that know nothing about Formula One racing. Like, I think it's just such a welcoming advertisement. And all those aspects, not only do the races look incredible, but you genuinely feel like you're in the moment. You start rooting for these people like they're real race car drivers. And that is the exact feeling you want out of a sports movie like this. And I am just so sick and tired of other movies that try to be complicated, they don't get the main thing right. Like, are you buying into the characters and the simple story? It's great if you have all these complex ideas, but if you don't really buy into the characters or anything going on, none of that really matters. And it doesn't stop there. I saw this film twice in theaters. The first time I went IMAX, the second time I went Dolby. I did prefer the IMAX experience a little bit more, but I left both screenings absolutely buzzing from all of the sound choices they made in this movie. The sound design is just next level. Every single thing from the engines roaring to the pit stops to the countdown to the race actually starting, all of it is designed and mixed perfectly. And then you add Hans Zimmer to the mix and it's like, hey, do you want to feel like the hand of God is pushing you down the racetrack with these people? And it's like, yes, Mr. Zimmer, I do want to feel that way during this movie. It is pretty similar to a lot of his other work. Like there's a part where Brad Pitt is doing push-ups shirtless and I'm like, oh, I'm just watching Batman Begins again. But it doesn't really matter. To me, Hans Zimmer is the guy. He always delivers. I'm not really supportive of everything that AI is about, but man, I could get behind cloning. If we can clone a perfect Hans Zimmer that just keeps doing movies as long as movies exist, I'm kind of cool with that. And maybe while we're at it, we clone Brad Pitt too, while he's in his prime. He's 61 years old. He looks better than most 28-year-olds I know. And this movie really does cement him. There's all this talk about Tom Cruise being the last movie star. And yeah, it seems like we don't have a ton these days, but Brad Pitt is really starting to cement himself of like, listen guys, I know you keep forgetting about me every once in a while, but I am here to stay. And I think this movie movie's kind of proof of that. Like, there's a lot of this story and dialogue on paper that should be cheesy and should not work. And sometimes the delivery is still a little cheesy from him, but there are so many times he turns a terrible, corny line into something genuinely funny that got a lot of laughs from my theater. Like, there are so many movies I watched that get a couple chuckles, but he had a few lines that had the entire theater really laughing. And if I read that joke on paper, I would have told the writer, like, hey, I think we should really cut this out. Like, come on, man, you could do a little better than this. But they kept it in the movie. Brad Pitt delivered the line, and it works. And I think that is impressive. There are a lot of times where the director or the writer can make the actor look better than they actually are. I think it's the exact opposite here. I think Brad Pitt makes the script look a lot better than it actually is. And even though he is playing a character we have seen hundreds of times before, I do think he nails that role really well. I think he elevates the character a lot. In terms of other supporting characters, Damson Idris does play the other driver here. He plays the more rookie hotshot kind of guy. Another stereotype. I did like him. I didn't love him though. I probably liked him the least out of the big supporting group of characters. Just like Brad Pitt, I am super impressed that he did all this driving. Like, to me, that is one of the most impressive things about this movie, and I think he deserves a ton of credit about that. I just felt like sometimes with the performance, like with Brad Pitt, I really thought I was watching this guy named Sonny Hayes, and when I was watching Damson Idris perform, I just felt like I was watching Damson Idris. It's not like he's bad in the movie, I just felt like I was watching an actor. Javier Bardem, though, is awesome as always. It kind of felt like they grabbed him off the Dune set, though. Like, as soon as he starts talking about, oh, I can't wait to see a miracle and all this stuff, it really felt like Brad Pitt was his Lisan Al-Gaib. It felt like very similar characters, but I love Javier Bardem. I still enjoyed his performance a lot here. Kerry Condon is also pretty damn good here as well. It seems like she's slowly becoming bigger and bigger in Hollywood, and I would put her in a similar category as Brad Pitt here in terms of she really does elevate a lot of the material around her. And honestly, I'm kind of surprised with the online talk about this movie. There have been so many channels that have grown big on YouTube over the past 5 years, where I was really surprised I haven't found a video review of this movie online yet where someone's like, women designing cars? This movie is so woke. But when it comes to me and this channel, we like women around here, and I thought she was pretty great in the movie. I can nitpick some things about this movie for sure. Like, the reveal of the villain is super corny. It doesn't blow me away at all in terms of original storytelling. Maybe it's a little bit long, even though I was never bored at any point. But I left that theater excited, smiling. I was texting people in my life that aren't into movies that much. Like, this is a good sign of what I think markets a great movie. Like, I'm not going to tell all my friends to go watch I Saw the TV Glow, even though I love that movie. And I feel like a lot of the mainstream movies I should be recommending to people aren't that good anymore. So when I get one that's great, I text everybody I talk to regularly, like, yo, you have to go see this movie. And everybody that took my word for it and went to see this in the theater had a great time with it so far. One of my friends, Adam, who doesn't watch a ton of movies, watches a good amount, said that was like a top 5 movie he's ever seen. And that's the thing, even though I'm not going to be on that level, I came out of this movie buzzing. And I want every single movie I see to make me feel that way. Not necessarily in the same kind of way that a movie like this does. I just want to feel something when I walk out of a movie. I want to be excited. I want to have a tear roll down my eye. I want to be cracking up the entire time if you're a comedy. I don't have a favorite genre, like I said before. I just love great movies, no matter what kind of movie it is. When I'm judging a film, I'm doing it on the basis of, okay, of the type of movie you are trying to be, are you the best version possible of that? And for me, F1 has come the closest to being that out of any movie I've seen so far this year. This is not the type of movie that makes my top 10 of the year most years, but neither is Top Gun Maverick, and that is still up there for possibly being my favorite movie of the entire decade so far. And I think director Joseph Kosinski deserves a lot of credit for that. He is one of the most exciting filmmakers now working today for me, and I think that is an awesome person to have in that category of people I'm excited to see movies from, because there are a lot of directors that I guess make more serious artsy films that I love when they make a movie. I get so excited when I go to see a movie like that. Even though Eddington wasn't my favorite movie of the year, video coming out soon, I get so excited to see an Ari Aster movie. But Ari Aster and Joseph Kosinski couldn't make more different types of movies, and I get equally excited now to see either of them make a movie. And that's awesome. I really hope a lot of people go check this out that haven't already. It's been pretty successful in theaters, so I highly recommend you go check it out on a big screen if you still can. I have a feeling this won't end up being my #1 movie of the year just because we have a lot of films coming out that look great. Like I said, this is bouncing back and forth with another film I saw at Sundance, which I will be talking about very soon. And if this doesn't end up on my top 10 list at all for 2025, we are in for a hell of a few months in terms of movies. So if you don't want to miss my top 10 list, my review of that Sundance video, or just my journey of becoming a Formula 37 driver now, be sure to subscribe so you don't miss any of those.